Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of The Lifting. Today's episode is being recorded on 5/23/25. Another Q&A, everybody. But before we can get to any of the good stuff, we will start with I now open this circle to true benevolence with no conflicting agendas as of this moment in time. Joanna?
We are all one, and when one is harmed, all are harmed. When one is helped, all are helped. Therefore, in the name of who I am, and I am one with all there is, that only the highest good be done. We pray for you, your friends, your family, your loved ones, to let healing energies in. Let them love you, let them nourish you, and let them bring you to your highest good. We ask for benevolence now to come in with no conflicting agenda, so that we may have this conversation in great understanding. And we ask for mischievous or malevolent beings or beings that wish to disrupt to please be swept away right now, so that we can have this conversation in peace. And with that, and with great blessings we send your way, we say, so be it.
And so be it. Okay, now for the beginning affirmation blessing. Blessings to the many. May the beginning of knowledge shine a light on ancient truths and wisdom. And that was by Father Gabriel Amort, or channeling thereof. So we'll go right into it. Right here.
Right. It's saying, hey, Chris, were you saying that Michael and Jesus channelings cannot be trusted?
Absolutely. So I will go into, let's see, this one is going to be, okay, let's see here. This one's a little long. So, yes, it is because they are not only the most prolific right now, more so than at any other time in our modern history, but that the Roman Empire made up a lot of the story surrounding Jesus in order to control people, creating the idea of a savior. On this thread, they wanted to also create the idea of a protector, so people would not claim their own power. All religions were created by Enlil, if you look back far enough. I am not saying that there isn't value there. There most certainly is, but separating the elements of belief, made up or not, and truth are imperative now. The Roman Empire made up most of the Jesus story to create a one world religion. The New Age movement the New Age movement was supposed to be the New Age religion, but it flopped to a certain extent, and this is why you see a resurgence in Christianity. The Cabal is turning back the clock, so to speak, back to an earlier control system. Before, it was Pharaoh Akhenaten trying to get everyone to worship the Aten sun disk. After Caesar burned the Library of Alexandria, the information was taken to Rome, and the rest is, as we say, history. And then the channel that came after it was, listen to your remaining history. It will guide you to the lies told, as well as the remaining truths that still exist. This is all I will say, for now anyhow. Bye now, Isaac. Now, I am not saying good things that didn't happen in history. Absolutely. Are there many truths that even the Jesus story spilled out amidst all the propaganda? Yes, was there somebody named Yeshua that existed at the time? Absolutely, there was. But what was his role? That's what's put in question. How much of it was written later? How much of it was solidified, Christianity-wise, was solidified with the Council of Nicaea later on, and with Emperor Constantine much later, or later rather than the Jesus time frame. So the details are a lot murkier the further back you go. And I want to point some out before we move on. There are so many channelings out there that are of different types that say a different origin story for Jesus all the time. It is so murky. One even gave this full backstory about him and Mary Magdalene giving, starting a group back then, being part of the mystery. I've heard him being part of the mystery schools, having been in Egypt. I have heard so many variations. I've even heard him been around the Native Americans. Now, there was a Lemurian or person from Mu that was considered a peacemaker, peacekeeper type. That was the one that actually was talking to the natives about some of the true philosophies a Jesus figure would have given. That's what they get it from. But in this respect, There an actual Jesus Christ that ascended to heaven, and in the story of him on the cross with the two, the criminal on one side and the innocent person on the other. No, no, no. Was there a person named Yeshua and or named Emmanuel then? Yes, but this person went around at the behest of not only Enlil but the Roman Empire in order to orchestrate this. So I will go on to the next. There's this next part here. The church also made up the Michael Protector role. Also, if you had a starship with a full crew complement, and say you had a captain, a security officer, a science officer, a medical officer, etc., would they not be seen by ancient people as the protector angel messenger equal Archangel Michael, the healing messenger, Archangel Gabriel, etc.? This is also an angle to consider. Discernment is key right now. All angles must be open to consideration, but discerning is what, and which is which, quote unquote, as in the other word which is ultimately necessary. So I find this actually quite interesting that this has come up. You also have the whole Christ conversation to consider in there, where the word Christ means drugs. Look this up. This is ancient Greek for the word Christ or Christ. Look this up. Gene Roddenberry even touched on this in Earth Final Conflict, where the aliens were creating a drug called Christ that they were getting everybody addicted to, and it was a form of adrenochrome, is how Roddenberry interpreted that. I can get more into that conversation. If everybody wants to hear that, I will be more than happy to do it. This will more likely be in our Galactic Historical material on GIC.show, mind you, but we can definitely get into that. I am not saying that weren't holy figures. I'm not saying some of the story wasn't true. I'm just saying that there's a ton of inconsistencies across the channel board, Glamour Magic aside and V2K aside. There are so many different versions, and I recognize the value of the multiverse and timelines, but something doesn't add up. That's all I'm saying. I'm neither saying doesn't exist or does. I'm just saying something doesn't add up. So I will go to this one.
It says, "Hi, Chris. This person is from Las Vegas. I love your show and would have loved to hear Sweet Michael talk about the Bee Gees. I know he stayed with the brothers in Miami back in the 80s. Hearing him channel them would be phenomenal. Thanks, Chris, for all you do."
Yeah, this was another Michael Jackson one, in case you hadn't noticed. This one, I loved them. Though the industry had a few fangs in them, so to speak, they were very kind to me in the end. This is what I can say for now. Until next we speak, Chris. Love to you all, Michael Jackson. So I thought that was actually quite interesting. It's good that people are asking these little snippet questions to specific people. I will make it a point to try to contact those specific people. If I cannot, for some reason, I'll set that aside and wait till there's an opportune time to do it. Next one.
Why do our immune systems not fight off viruses such as the zoster shingles virus, merely suppressing it and not curing it?
Yeah, this is one I had because I get eye shingles constantly and it's obnoxious. So, and why it keeps coming back and not fighting it. So, this was Isaac that said this, in case you hadn't noticed by the verbiage. Simple, dumbass, because it can't yet. Yes, there has been tampering done to prevent all of you from being healthier, either from chem tampering and or psionic tampering, but with some viruses, the human genome simply is not able to fight it off completely yet. Get it? By Isaac. And he's just saying we haven't reached that particular pinnacle yet. But I feel just like in ancient times, a lot of the viruses that existed then, we see them as mere nuisances now. So granted, I don't want it to be that long of a time expanse before it happens, but we'll see what happens in the future. So, and also co-creation is another big thing. If you don't want it around, make sure it's not around. So, I mean, on a mass scale, I don't mean individually. I mean that this is one for the mass consciousness there. So, next one.
Are they killing the Biden duplicate via cancer?
And this is Isaac again. Yes, dumbass, based on what we all said before, the real Joe Biden died in Las Vegas in July of 2024. As per was discussed, they will continue to act as if he is still alive, then kill him off via natural causes. Get it? Bye for now, Isaac. And then he went, P.S. The Trump post on Truth Social where he said, this is not the real Joe Biden, same as past posts by other people, are these people nonchalantly hinting at the fact that he has not only had duplicates, but that just after the Trump-Biden debate in July, he was dead. They are slowly but surely killing him off. Enough of this subject for now, anyhow, until more about it publicly comes to pass. Bye for now, Isaac. So, okay.
Says, hey, Chris, were you saying that Michael and Jesus channelings, cannot be trusted? Is that the same?
Oh, yeah, this was another version of that question,
Okay.
actually. And this was more of this. This was a more of an addendum off of this.
Okay.
Truth is, this is also came in through YouTube, by the way. The truth is, there is and isn't a Jesus. They made it up in Tiberius's time and sent an actor out to play the role. So if someone asked, they can honestly state that there was a real deal going around preaching. This was how they began to sow the seeds of the New World religion. Think the Mandarin from the Marvel Cinematic Universe, whereas he tricked everyone into believing he was this big badass bad guy, but in the end, he was just an actor. In Iron Man 3, by the way, if you want to check that out, the ending to that. If anybody hasn't seen it, oh well, it's been out for years. No spoilers there. Enlil orchestrated this from another dimension since he needed followers from Midgard. There really was no immaculate conception, though reptilians can conceive this way. The actor shalicoed for Enlil. Shalico is a form of channeling where they literally can transform the person. It's a more of a transmutative ability. You see shalico being done with masks. If you ever see the Legend of Zelda Majora's Mask video game where they change into the Link changes into the being coming through the mask, or Jim Carrey's movie The Mask kind of thing. It's along those lines. It's a form of channeling that's extremely advanced and dangerous. Meaning a form of channeling that involves a channeler to sometimes very literally turn into whom they are channeling. In ceremonies, some tribes will wear masks to do this, to channel like I do for beings. Also think Jim Carrey in The Mask, whereas he brought through Loki's essence. In short, the story of Jesus, the way it is written in the Bible, never happened. It was written later. Both Emperor Constantine and then later the Council of Nicaea solidified what Christianity would look like. You also have the Christ conversation, as I said before, whereas the word Christ quite literally means drugs. So the apostles were children at the time Jesus would have known them. The Roman Empire would traffic children as well as adults into slavery. They created the Jesus story as a means to distract people from the empire while they trafficked in the background. They eventually tried to kill the actor that helped them out. I even have past life memories as Nicodemus' son, where he was a Roman guard assigned to Jesus as he went from secret place to secret place, planning said religion out. When they had enough orchestrated followers, they then came out in the open. So some of the stories are true to within a certain extent. So that some of it could be corroborated, just like a lot of the medical profession did during the scamdemic. Whereas if a high-ranking medical professional said it must be true, quote unquote. Don't get me wrong, I've seen true magic and miracles in this world. That story was just not one of them. What they get out of it is control, no more, no less. This is all for now. If I find out more, I'll report to everyone. Hope this answers your questions. And I do want to point out there was a part in one of Tony Rodriguez's books and on his videos and his interviews that he said that when he did channeling during his SSP time, when he was down in I believe it was Peru, it was actually more of a front to do drug running in the background. It's the exact same concept, just earlier vintage in antiquity. So we can move on from this. Oh, one more thing, one more example. Buffy the Vampire Slayer, the character of Glory, and it is a Shalakor that goes through a man that she's a goddess that comes through a man. If people think that ages me right there, knowing that particular reference, that's mid 90s right there. So that's a great reference of Shallowing, by the way. So if you want to look that up, a goddess going through a man where she was in a dimension that she couldn't reach ours, turned him into her so she could walk amongst us. Same thing. So next one.
Are the forest people and Fae indigenous to the Gaia matrix, or are some of them incarnated from Coma
Berenice.
Berenice?
I am not sure what Coma Berenice is. To the one that asked that question, I would love to know what the hell that is. But to answer the rest of the question, I don't know what Coma Berenice is. It sounds vaguely familiar to me, but I just don't know. If anybody knows, put it in the comments below, please. No, the original Anakam are not from Earth. Our ancestry is from the Pleiades. The forest people now inhabiting Earth are the descendants of those Anakam families. Some Fae were created 65 million years ago in the time known as the Great Seeding, whereas builders were genetically created to both build up nature as well as guard the Earth. This is what I know. Broston, Sasquatch, forest person. So next one.
When forest people lose their physicality through what we perceive of as death, what process does the spirit take? Are they subject to the corrupt incarnation grid as well?
Okay, this was Broston again. Broston here to state that we go into spirit the same as all of you. We cross over into spirit, or if an injustice takes place, same as you, we become what you humans call ghosts. Our bodies turn into a form of earth and stone, similar to that of Titans. So do we get forced incarnated? Some do, some do not. The same as humans. If humans succumb to the ritual known by the name last rites, this is the doorway straight into a soul trap. This is all I know. Broston. Never accept last rites. There's no such thing as last. Life is eternal. And that's also how they get you. They get you on the fear of death thing. If you believe life is eternal and that even your family members knowing if you're getting targeted that something could possibly happen, just know if you have that faith that life is eternal and that you exist somewhere, they're never going to get you here. So just thought I'd bring that up, and that's also what he wanted to relay as well. So next.
Are Enlil and Enki truly wards of the Galactic Court?
This one here, I had to be slightly more harsh in my answer on this. I'm not out to offend anybody. Just know that this we could not corroborate whatsoever. So there's no such thing as the Galactic Court. There is a court system in place, just like we have courts down here. But to say there is that is an incorrect statement. So to say Enki and Enlil are wards of the Galactic Court is shill talk. I had to be harsh on that one, guys, so watch out for these types of statements. So if you're the one that originally came up with this, I'm sorry, you might want to re-look at whom you're speaking to out there. So this one, let's see,
That's a question.
Oh, that's a question. Yeah, I had to make sure it was good.
The Melchizedeks, I've heard of the Covenant of the Emerald Order, I think it's called, and the fall of Giovanni, which became Metatron, trying to save its oversoul, but too much fell and it became the darkness, yet celebrated as an archangel.
Archangel,
Sorry. Are all archangels controlling the narrative down the gate, since they close off the last gate that would separate them from source? And in parentheses, this is assuming the Ashanas, Keolonics are correct in the first place.
I am actually sorry. I have no freaking idea what this is about. But I do know, based on the information that we have been given, this does not match what we've been given. So I will go over my stuff first, and then I will give Broston's response. The whole thing with Metatron, that people should look at that name a little closer. what is Facebook using right now? The term meta, that usually means like light force or ether, essentially. So it's being bastardized within more of an artificial intelligence narrative. Think of Tron, the movie Tron, another Matrix AI reference. What does this say? Metatron. This is essentially an AI construct. It's saying the Metatron. I've heard that phrase before. I know it's supposed to be Archangel Metatron. The original body of the being that known as Metatron a long time ago, or before this actually took place, was more of an elven form. He looked kind of like Worf from Star Trek, Next Generation, and DS9 and them, and Picard and them. And he had an appearance of, they even have a meme online that's supposed to be of Saint Nicholas, quote unquote. But he looked like a saint version of Worf, if people are familiar with what I'm talking about. That's the kind of elven or Tuathan and or form that he was, essentially where they got the idea of how the Klingons looked. Roddenberry looked into ancient sources like Sumerian, Viking, and sources like biblical as well as Middle Eastern, and that's where you get Klingons from. With this, though, I also have to say there's no such thing as the Emerald Order. I have never encountered this at all in my doing anything, except for one thing where somebody thought they were part of this Emerald Order doing this. The same thing with the Silver Legion. Sorry, guys, I cannot corroborate the Emerald Order nor the Silver Legion. I cannot at all. This feels hollow to me, and hollow usually does not mean a good thing. Some people think it means peace or silence. Not always. I cannot back this up. And the name Melchizedek, I will actually just go into what Brothton said here. It is unfortunate that I must say this, but none, and I mean none of what was just stated is true. There is no such thing as the Emerald Order. And the supposed Melchizedeks, quote unquote, do not exist either. The Guardianship of the Void sometimes has been known to use the name once or twice in order to get messages across, a message across. But that is all. And I ran into that in someone's session. And there's also, and I have to bring up one more thing, because this one bugged the ever-living bejeepus out of me. This is more of a slight rant. Somebody came to me one time and said, oh, this person is providing a service saying these Melchizedek beings are going to do all the work for me of healing. I wait 4 to 6 weeks. I don't do any sort of energy work. I don't have to do anything. It's wonderful. And I wanted to blow a vein in my head, because if anybody, being or human, is telling you don't have to do any work, that is a scam artist, either from out there or here. If any beings are saying, we got this, no. Yes, beings will help protect you. And if you're saying, a being saying, I'm the guide assigned to you, there is no such thing as a guardian angel. There is no such thing as a being assigned to you, except with the church, and that is through baptism. This is why we have said revoking baptisms and the demon assigned to you. That is a church manipulative bit of bullcrap right there. There was no beings ever assigned to you. I was always so mad when I was wondering why my guides were laying down on the job. It was never their job to begin with. It was never any of these beings' job. Now, certain beings like the Mozen will say they guard bigger areas, but they're not refined to an individual. If you have friends and soul family, they're helping you out from either spirit or galactic realms of some kind, or interversal dimensional realms. It's because they like you and they're part of your soul family. Even Clifford Stone said when he came across Corona, the being known as Corona told him that sometimes beings will help people telepathically, tap into their intuitive side and know not when to walk down a dark alley or something like that. They're helping people out from the shadows. You can consider that a guardian angel role. Also, spirit helping you out to get back on track. I suppose you can say that. But if it's a being that's saying, or a set of beings saying, we got this, chances are they don't got this. So I'm just putting that out there. So we'll just move on before I go any further here. So next one.
Is it a possibility that the tall whites could shapeshift into black-eyed kids, since their eyes supposedly stay black? What would be their motive?
Okay, yeah, if you guys have any more questions about the black-eyed kids, I'm actually curious about that one myself. I do know this is actually did know this bit of information that Broston shared though. Some can indeed become the infamous black-eyed children, since the black-eyed children are a form of tall white. This group is very similar to the Green Children of Woodland. You've probably heard of the Green Children. The boy died, the girl lived, and it was a town in England that they came into. Whereas they were a fairy form that crossed into our realm from Tirnanog, or translated into your English, the other world of the living, also known to you as Lanulos. It sits within the Interverse, the worlds within worlds. Variations of descendants of humans, tall whites, Lyrans, fairies, and others live there. I hope this helps. Broston. Yeah, this is actually quite fascinating. This goes back to your Lord of the Rings material. Again, you guys want to see any of the Lord of the Rings stuff where we go into Tolkien's lore and everything that fits all this, please say something. That would be more for GIC in that realm. But this is an area we were thinking of touching on after the Greek mythological stuff is done. So I think this would be a good that'd be a good segue. You want to see specific things within that, like maybe specific beings, specific events. Just like the Battle of Helm's Deep was Battle of the Somme for Tolkien in World War One. That's some of his wartime. The other one was Sauron versus the Elves and the humans that got caught in between, the War of the One Ring originally. That was Tuatha of Danann versus Fomorian wizards. We can go on and on, but that if people want to find out some of the stuff that was actually true in that, let us know. We can go on to this.
Will Scientology ever fall while David Miscavige is still alive so we can watch him pee his little captain suit?
Whoever is forming questions like this, thank you, because this is funny. So actually, I know who's doing this, so keep doing it, please. Okay. It will fall when it falls. More of the ugliness of it will need to surface first. The same with your political theater. This is all I can say for now until he here knows more about this subject. Broston. We have a show on GIC that was about this as well before Galactic Interstellar Council turned over to Galactic Interversal Consortium. We did one of those, and we are going to be revamping those with the new brand name at some point here in the future as well. Not too distant future. There might be some time expanses that we got, me and Bjorn got incorrect on that one, generational gaps that were in there. But what Isaac was saying was only one portion of the information, while there was some truth put in there that then the other half of it bastardized. I loathe to even say the S word on here because they love to flag that. So if you see this episode disappear from the lineup, that means it's been put over on Rumble. Just saying. Okay. Well, they're both there. It'll be there anyway. But if it's just only over there and not YouTube, you'll have now figured out why. So, next one.
Is Julian Casablancas of the Stokes and the Voids ensnared into the music portion of the cabal since his father is John Casablancas, famous sleazy model management firm, CEO of Elite that has ties to trafficking? He seems to always be on the verge of cracking or a hostage.
Okay, since I don't exactly know who this is, I will defer to the guides on this one. I was ignorant in this area. I had no idea who Julian Casablancas of the Strokes was. I don't listen to the band. I had to look it up to a small degree to even figure it out. So yeah, if you have questions that of a subject we have no knowledge of, just bring it up. So this is how we learn of this. So yes, he is ensnared into the music portion of the cabal. Most of them are and don't realize it. They go into it for completely different reasons and goals in mind, but end up in the cabal sites. I hope this helps Broston. He was very brief on some of these things involving cabal, but basically the person that asked this question, he was basically corroborating what you said. So, next one.
How will the aquatic Draco manifest when they cross dimensional lines? How is the battle going? I worry for the forest people.
And this is Broston that also said he was on fire with a lot of these this time. To put it bluntly, for one, they never truly cross into this dimension. They have some fledgling variations here and there, but not exactly the same as themselves. You see, they are fortunately for everyone here, stuck in their dimension. However, they have managed to very briefly manifest here to where we and other military forces, including the Mosin, must deal with them. I must emphasize that we are doing well, though we have unfortunately suffered losses at the hands of the Atwatics. You can thank Richie for that one, by the way. We are strong, as are all of you. Anala Moes and forever, Roston. So, we'll go into, okay. Okay, here we are.
I wanted to share, how starfish, when you chop off a hand, another of them grows, like in SpongeBob with Patrick. I read a story that stated that every time we get a cut or an injury, another us grows in another universe. And this article stated that it is like a quantum cord in us that connects with the universe. It also explained that this is why there are some people who claim that they are reincarnation, and they tell you their body is buried at a graveyard. But the article stated that the buried body is in a coma state and that it's telepathically quantum entangled to the body or clone that grew in the other universe, and the buried body is the original body. It said, think of the cloned body or body that grew in the other universe as another body part of the body that's buried and in a coma state, sort of like the guy in the Pirates of the Caribbean who had his heart in a box.
Yeah, this was actually quite interesting. If you could translate all this, I'll try to break this down. You have somebody that dies here of an injury, loses a part, something. Patrick Star in SpongeBob, the part would get cut off and another one would grow. This person was asking if this was like this in the multiverse. And I have to say yes to this in some instances where there are planes of existence where things can grow out of a single cell, kind of like your Cell character in Dragon Ball Z, where he'd grow out of a single cell. Think of that concept, but for another timeline. And also the fact that we're cutting across timelines 1,000 times a second. Like if you had an injury and say you didn't have one here, or if some cell crossed over here and something grew here in a divergent, say, reality where that's even possible, a divergent evolution, and it crossed over here, why not? Infinite diversity and infinite combinations. It's also, they always like to say that Marvel had it slightly wrong in this respect, where they have incursions. The multiverse isn't that fragile because as you cross, you start to adapt to the timelines you're in. What about a single cell doing that? Or blood, or hair, or a dead body, or, being here, giving off something that goes over here? It's the same thing. Now, are there fragile universes where one perceived reality that we're perceiving it as we're crossing in, kind of encoding and decoding as we go into another universe? Could that screw up somebody's backyard? Absolutely, it could. But the multiverse, they said, isn't that completely fragile. Maybe a few of them out there are, but not to the extent that Marvel made it. That's where they had it slightly ambiguous. So, okay, and I said, I know that the curse of Enlil, which dictates that the reason a body is buried, is that Enlil cursed the water in the bones, making it so one's ghost would walk the earth. But I have not heard of one that grows a new self in another universe, or if one is injured. Do I negate that possibility? No. And this is where Roston came in. Actually, I will say, also clones of yours, you are entangled too. I have seen where in dreams and in visions and stuff, where I've seen where a version of me is in a tank somewhere, growing in a clone, like in a bathtub. Doctor Who did this. Battlestar Galactica did this. Whereas you saw like the Martha Jones clone being grown in a bathtub in Doctor Who, Battlestar Galactica, the Cylons. So I saw this, immediately cut that dimensional space off. It was a holographic space that was being created. First, I thought it was something being pumped into my head, but it was like a clone of me that I was quantumly entangled to. SSP versions can do the same because it's technically another expression of Oversoul at that point. I will read his answer here. Yes, there is a concept where if you have a body part removed, it grows in another universe as another you, so to speak. This means that if one is injured in this universe, one's other cells can also go through variations of this very same injury. That said, in one, two, or several variations, this can create another self that grows out of control in some realities, and in others, just be another clone. Do you understand? Frostum. Yeah, so it's basically, I also say the little fibers of it, like how you had the sacred timeline in Marvel, then had all those little juts off it. Eventually, they did the digital tree on one universe line. You have all these little hairs, and in several of those little hair timelines, it could be just a you that's wearing a different shirt that day. I've seen some weirder crap happen, but that's the truth of it. You have all these little needle-like variations, hair-like variations in there. I could go on forever with that, but I'm not going to. We'll go on to the next one.
Next question is, how do you make tar water again?
Okay, this is, you melt pine pitch in a pot on the stove, and then dilute it in water. That should work. What it is, some people take big jugs, like the gallon milk jugs, or even a bucket of water. And what they do is you take the black cooked down pine pitch and pour it right in the water, even while it's hot. And it will start to mix with the water, shake it up, it'll dissolve more. And the more dense you have that, the better. You put it around the foundation of your house, on the concrete, driveway, everything, it will work. You can even mix some selenite powder in with that, powdered selenite in there. It will melt, let it melt in there, make sure the water's hot, and throw it out there. The way I make a more complex version of this, and you all can try this. You probably don't have, I don't know, maybe you might have the way to do this, but you melt the pine pitch, and then you put it into, I put it into plasma shungite energy water while it's in a mason jar, or the liquid tar pine pitch in there. Let it go down into the water and start to harden. Looks like amber. Leave it in there a couple of days. Pull it out, melt it again. Then I put it into some cupcake molds. Let it harden. Take the shungite beeswax that I've already mixed shungite powder into the beeswax. Melt those two together. Then from that point on, I can then use those to make things like chrome nails, things of that nature. I put amber, frankincense, and myrrh in the mix beforehand when I mix the two together. Then I can tip the nails with it, and are the selenite swords. This is what you're seeing on the tip and the butt end of that sword. I have several of those for sale if people are interested as well, with the wax on it. And I can also sell the pre-made wax pine pitch, pre-made ingots as well. If people are interested, please let me know, or else I'm not going to post any of it. Because it doesn't seem, people don't seem to know what it quite is yet. Maybe this will change, but that's a more complex version. The simple version is melt, pour in water, mix it, pour around house. That's basically the simple version. So make sure it's black though when you do it. So next one.
It says, hi, Matthew. What is it that you wanted to tell the listening audience?
Okay, let's see. Yeah, this is meaning. Let's see. Yeah, this was Matthew Perry came through and said this. I thought this was interesting. He came up in a session once or twice after he passed away. I thought this was interesting. So, hi, Chris. It is good to see and to speak to you once again. I wish to be short. I want to say that I was murdered and was not, I repeat, was not in a suicidal place. Mind control, like Michael Jackson, was ultimately shown in some of my final behavior. But what ended up killing me was the needle with high doses of ketamine injected into my neck. I was killed because of the Diddy list. His people, and I use that term very lightly, were and or are the scum of the earth. If there were a hell, P. Diddy as well as Jeffrey Epstein would be sitting on its throne together. Their puppet state and status aside. This is all that I came to say, Chris. Thank you very much for this opportunity. It has been an honor. Michael Jackson deferred me to you as well as others that you have not spoken to as of yet. Anyhow, be safe, dear friend of justice and information. They can and will try to harm you guys when able, but never surrender or give in to their gaslighting. Just know that you are protected always and forever. I am in spirit now. Thank you in part. Thanks in part to you, my new friend. Peace to you. Bye now. And that was channeling of actor, director, and producer and the star of the sitcom Friends, Matthew Perry. P.S. They all are guilty of something, Chris, my so-called friends. We can speak more on this later, on sometime soon. Bye. All right. Okay. Well, let's skip that. Okay, next one.
What is the place known to humans as the astral plane?
Okay, this is fascinating. I just found this very, very interesting. I knew about some of this, so Isaac here to tell all of you that this demented dimension is a ribbon that runs along the edge of the multiverse to the edge of the omniverse. Its purpose is more of a catch-all, meaning that as dimensions go, this one takes the cake. Sometimes very literally. When objects go missing, aside from time slips and just plain forgetfulness, beings, ghosts included, can take an object or 10 to this weird layer of spirit, of which he here has so aptly named the Beetlejuice layer. Ever wonder where your missing socks or underwear go from the washer or dryer go? Well, aside from the occasional suction from the dryer vent, these objects can land there in the astral plane. Very much like Sakaara in Thor Ragnarok, whereas there was a planet with many doors, no different than the NTTF timeline. Last question, dumbass. Okay, I mean, that was the last one he did. Oh, well, then he had more later on. But okay, next one.
Apparently there is a video going around about the Disney Epcot tunnels that are in the bathrooms.
And I know I've forgotten some links in the descriptors. If you think I've forgotten links to some of these video questions, please let me know. I'll put them in there or in the comments below. But there was a video on Facebook going around about somebody that found a hole in a bathroom that went into these underground tunnels, and you can see the big Epcot like golf ball sphere there. And I know that's a part of the binary network, the same as the Unisphere in New York from the World's 64 World's Fair. So, okay, let's see. Yes, let's see. Yes, all this is true, every word. I can attest that all, and I mean all Disney grounds have these. The so-called happiest place on earth is anything but. Missing kids, missing adults, missing pets, both for military purposes and experimental ones. Public bathrooms are often portals, both for secret tunnels and passageways, as well as actual portals to military installations or ports. This is sickening and must stop. A SSP haven/recruiting. I can say no more about this, but suffice to say it is evil, but can be redeemed. Infrastructure-wise, that is. He meant not the people, the infrastructure. Now, I came in someone's session once, quite some time ago. They kept saying they had dreams of walking around out through public bathrooms. And I know in hotels, sometimes you have links to military bases, especially a couple in California, one in Barstow in particular, that went down into Edwards, that went through a bathroom behind a shower. I know this is basically like secret mansion bullcrap. You also had, of course, the movie Resident Evil, where the fake couple were in the mansion that was above the base, or the passage or the shaft down at the base. This is similar. Where they can go behind a wall, or there is like a portal apparatus that just grab people. Also, if you want to see a very good example of Disney's linked to the deep state, aside from the Martian German references, and Disney's link to the Third Reich, his father's link to the Third Reich, Walt Disney's. This the Fallout 4. What is it? Nuka World is the name of the DLC. And they basically show all sorts of experiments happening in the vaults underneath and the spaces underneath Nuka World, including the classic Disney's head in a frozen jar thing, which never happened, by the way. That was actually a running joke that they put into that. But they showed the experiments that the military, weapons experiments and genetic research that, with reptilian garbage and everything, they were creating reptilian forms and all this in the park itself underneath. But they called it Nuka World. It was a fusion of Coca-Cola and Disney in that game. But that is essentially the best example I have ever seen of that in the disclosure in the media realm. That is. So the next one.
It says, Michael, what was your relationship to Prince? And did he try to warn you?
Okay, this one was interesting. This had 3 different people that did the channelings. One of them was Michael Jackson, one of them was Prince, and one of them was Professor Stephen Hawking. So this one was fascinating. So, let's see. Yes, Chris, he did. I didn't listen, but he did. He will fill you in a sec for the rest of this open channel. And then it went over to him. Prince here, Chris. We met years ago when you were on Fletcher Avenue at Links of Lincoln, and that's true. I encountered Prince years ago. A hotspot indeed, meaning Lincoln. Now, I will say, I will give you the very same warning that I gave Michael. Don't poke the bear, please, for fuck's sake. You had so much interference then in Lincoln, but here you are drawing way too much attention to yourself. Also, Stephen wishes to speak to you as well. And then it waited a minute. And then, please, he said, please, Stephen, be brief. Thank you. Stephen Hawking here, Chris. Illnesses are part of the game, as Americans would say. Whereas if you poke the bear way too much, they get you with distracting sicknesses and illnesses. This happened to me, Chris. He said, don't be a cheap bastard. That's a Dilbert reference, by the way, of his caricature in Dilbert. And spend what you need to and is needed to help yourself. I will be happy to return to do question and answer soon, but suffice to say, they gave me ALS via vaccines and shots. The way my death was reported was very untrue. I died before I died, as well as had words put in my mouth with and or by what you guys refer to as the mouth. Since he talked through a computer, what better way for somebody to fake what he said? Not all of my words were my words, if you get my meaning. That's what he was talking about. Good day to you, good and kind fellow. Be seeing you around soon. Chris, blessings. That was the channelings of Michael Jackson, the artist formerly known as Prince, and Professor Stephen Hawking. So, and he looked like he did when he was much younger. He showed himself at first in the wheelchair so that I would be able to identify him, and then he changed into his other self. And so I wanted to make sure I knew him first. I wouldn't have known who the hell he was because he looked like he was 25. So I just know he's in spirit. So next one.
And I'm assuming you must have asked this.
Mhm.
Prince, why did you refer to yourself as the artist formerly known as Prince after a while? And why did you use the symbol as your person signet?
Okay, personal signet. Yeah, I meant personal. Okay. Sorry, I'm blind as a bat when I'm typing these sometimes. So, okay. I will answer this, but this is all for now, Chris. Okay. So the reason I referred to myself as the artist formerly known as Prince was that I changed as a result of what I knew. I cried when I knew what I knew, and I was no longer the Prince that I was. I had to relabel myself, not unlike Michael Jackson, to draw attention to what was truly going on in Hollywood, as well as the music industry. Remember what Michael told you, any, and I mean any and or all outlandishly presented actors / actresses and singers / musicians are trying to tell you something, even under immense mind control, Chris. And he was very sad about this. So this is all that I will say for the moment, at least. Blessings to you and your fine house, Chris, Joanna, Katrina, Laverne, and even Sammy, who sees as well as feels a lot around the house. Bye. By the way, Chris, I am Prince once again. I am healed. I am no longer the artist formerly known as Prince, but just Prince once again. Prince. So I thought that he was basically saying he was no longer suffering from those traumas, is what he was trying to say in spirit. So, and many people remember, I believe this was back in 2015, his funeral was. And they had this big elaborate funeral where they were giving out gifts and everything. It was this huge thing. And back then, when I was doing Diamonds Network, he did come to me, but there was so much interference that even this happens even to this day, to a little bit when I'm talking to Michael Jackson and them, there will be this weird fade in. And people might know what I'm talking about, that actually see things and hear things, where there's this fade in from V2K, and then the other pushes and takes over and then smacks it out of the way. And then you might get a piece of conversation that was not them over here. They'll even correct me going, Chris, this was not us, erase that line, because that was V2K trying to constantly butt in. It is very difficult sometimes to distinguish. I know when it's V2K because the feeling is either hollow, off, or heavy in some fashion. They will then correct me and go, wait, my conversation stopped here, correction. And then they'll move on. And then you can just feel when that's right. The intuition. Now, I want to divert a little bit because we're at the galactic contribution right now. This was actually very odd, and this I'll have to go into it for some context here. When we were back on Hartley, this was before Fletcher, when we moved out of my grandmother's house. When she got sick, we decided to leave before the bank decided to do something. While we were in Hartley, many people remember also one of the recent conspiracy sectors, the Charles Starkweather Mystery Park 2. I actually show Hartley House doing a ghost box session in front of that while I was in Nebraska recently. And you heard a lot of weird crap going on there, including the witch coming on there, or ISIS. I should relabel that sometime. Thank you to the person that gave me that nickname. I will use that prolifically. But with this, there was so much activity in that house. Around the time when I really started getting into channeling, this was just, I'm not getting into channeling, I did it pre-accident. Post-accident, when everything went into hyperdrive after my near-death experience, where I was around the guides for 2 weeks and I was clinically dead for an hour here in 2009. Saw forest clearing, that whole bit. I've gone through that before. I won't reinvent the wheel, but what I will say, when I came back into it, it was around roughly, I want to say the time frame that Joan Rivers passed away, and that was in 2014. That was before we moved from Hartley to Fletcher at Links at Lincoln. And I heard from two people at that time. It was Joan Rivers herself and Tupac Shakur. And there was so much interference then, and I trusted, there were certain beings I trusted. ISIS, the blonde-haired idiot, and the brat meaning Enwell. If I come up with a better name for blonde-haired idiot, I'll let you know and replace it. But as far as I'm concerned, that's his label at the moment. Liars all around. And liars and just creepy-ass beings all around. Ninlil, Enlil being the other two names for the two, and I don't know any other names for the blonde-haired idiot. Historically, other than Simon Magus. That was his other name, Orion Magician. I'll go into that some other time if people want to hear that one. But this, I ran into Tupac when they were doing a story on him on the news, ran into him, and I can't find the old channeling they did. We can always ask him to refill this in at some point. But he came in to want to talk about some things then. But I don't know, and I still don't know a whole lot about the man, because I'm not really into the rap scene. So I really don't know a whole lot. I just know what he says, and I know what's some of it in the historical record. But the fact that he died on the Vegas Strip outside Circus there. But what ended up happening was he said he would return at a later date when I was ready to hear certain information or could give it some contextual, backing. Also, with Joan Rivers, what ended up happening with this was damn weird. I crossed her over into spirit. Tupac was already spirit at the time, or in between. I believe I had to cross him over, but not as harshly as I did Joan Rivers. And I did crossed her, and she crossed into spirit. And then a weird chain of events took place where I thought the being I was talking to at the time was her, and it ended up being a lying sack. of crap that was actually interfering at the time because of the beings that I had around that I trusted I should not have. And I will make that admission now. But this is why you don't see my book from the Fall of the Lifting out there anymore. We're revamping a lot of that material. But with this, there was just know there was a line of crap that took place and the real person was subverted. The same went with Leonard Nimoy when he passed in, I believe it was 2015, 16, I believe it was. When I saw him cross over, there were some Syrians around at the time and dark elves that were screwing around them. These people have all come back to basically say their piece now at a time that I'm more discerning and more anal retentive and strict about who and what I talk to, tighter circle, deeper roots. So they waited for a time to come back and talk. Now, Leonard Nimoy wasn't going to be on this one. He said he would be on a much later one. So I find it fascinating, no pun intended. But the one that wanted to speak, or the ones, plural, that wanted to actually talk briefly, one was Tupac, one was Joan Rivers. So I said I would give them both a limited time, keep it brief. I will say Tupac's death. Let's say he was actually, he was born June 16th, 1971, East Harlem, New York. Died September 13th, 1996. He was 25 years old. University Medical Center, Las Vegas, Nevada. Full name Tupac Amaru Shakur. And, okay, there we go. I didn't realize he was 25 until I looked that up today. I thought he was actually in his 40s. But maybe that was by the time I actually spoke to him. And Joan Rivers, was born June 8th, 1933, Brooklyn, New York, died September 4th, 2014. She was 81, Mount Sinai Hospital, Newark, New York. But was 81 years old. I remember these things taking place. Tupac, they said he died of shooting was carried out by a Compton gang called the Southside Crips to avenge the beating of one of its members by Shakur a few hours earlier. Actually, he told me that was a bold-faced lie. It was Diddy that orchestrated the whole thing, because they were kind of in together, and I believe my intuitions tell me he pulled away from that. Him and Biggie Smalls and them, but Joan Rivers, it was her infamous comment about Michelle Obama being a guy. The next day, dead. During that week, dead, I should say. So these are both injustices, and they were both relatively ghosts when I encountered them because of the injustices. Now, I believe Tupac was actually held more by people that venerated him and his work. Just like with Elvis, people unintentionally held him. And like Elvis said when he was in Graceland, he had to get away from adoring fans that were ghosts that followed him around, and I had to help him pass on when we encountered him back in, I believe, 22. So it was 21, 22, I believe, the Vivas Las Vegas episode. But with this, I said I'd be more than happy, but to carry two, it had to be briefer. So which one of you wants to go first? Tupac. All right. True benevolent. At this moment in time, all sessions of expression. Okay. All right. Let's see. What did you want? Is there anything from your historical record you want me to read first? All right. Oh, you said fine to this. It says Tupac Shakur, American rapper. Tupac Amaru Shakur, also known by his stage name Tupac and Machiavelli, was an American rapper and actor, regarded as one of the greatest and most influential rappers of all time. Academics regard him as one of the most influential artists of the 20th century and a prominent political activist for Black America. And I will read Joan Rivers as well. Joan Rivers, American comedian and actress Joan Alexandria Molinsky, known professionally as Joan Rivers, was an American comedian, actress, producer, writer, and television host. Okay, I just wanted to make sure to get those out there. So, in case people don't know. So, and Tupac went, yes, there are people that don't know. It was quite some time ago that this happened. It was in 96. So, that's a whole generation. So, it's hard to believe, but yes. Well, I know who he was, and I don't actually didn't follow any of your work. No offense. So, adjust my chair here and get ready here. So, oh, shush you. He's like, when you're done touching yourself, I am ready. Okay. Yeah, funny. Okay. But, oh, through the crystal, yes. Yes, I did contact him then, quite some time ago, roughly in the early 2010s. His mind had not expanded, no insult to him, to the point where carrying a consciousness was completely conceivable then. And it wasn't until Fletcher that he could do this in this fashion. At least, no insult to him, rudimentarily. His skill is more enhanced now, mixed with both artistry writing and channeling, and also logical discernment as well, critical thinking skill. I will be brief as per requested, but I will say, yes, I was around P. Diddy at the time and others of the associates, and this is when Epstein was still doing his thing. I only wanted to tap into the soul of things. I did not participate in any of this. I did not want any of this. I was warned to be part of a lot of this, and I chose not to. I chose to be me. They saw that I was linked more to spirit than anything else. I'm not anointing myself of any sort of greatness. Even though I did have him read one of the greatest rappers of all time, I suppose you could say this. But, excuse, one must clear something here. You see, like Michael Jackson, they feared what I had to say about them early on in that time frame, and I did not wish to see certain things happen any longer. I wished to bring the soul of things out. I felt I was uncorruptible. My spirit was uncorruptible. And the gang members they attribute, the Crips they attribute, were actually hired by Diddy and them to do this. There were several other involved, but the one that is out in the open now, getting his nuts handed to him, is P. Diddy, Sean P. Diddy Combs. I know at first he didn't care about any of this world because he thought it was all a masquerade. And yes, the political theater aside, like what Michael Jackson and them were saying, Prince and them were saying, and Brosnan was saying, that aside, there are actual things taking place that are encompassed within that theater that are very real to both touch, taste, smell, and hearing in your world. Does this mask not make it a real thing? Does not the imagination of a thing conjure a thing? Does the creation of a thing, even in your popular pop culture, does this not make it a thing thusly? So, with that said, does not the horrors of the world not reflect outwardly, even in your puppeteering and your puppet show? Of course it does. As you would say, Joanna, false flags do hurt someone. That said, a playette often generates reality, and reality is then considered to be the playette. So, if you wish to ask me things, you'll go for it.
So when you were alive, I mean, you have a different perspective now to really see the breadth of it all. But, when you were alive, did you really think it was just this minor issue that you could skirt, not really seeing the breadth of how the evil had turned something into something that you couldn't even get away from? Because it's our understanding it touches everyone. If you become a known name, it's touching you somehow.
Yes, unbeknownst to myself at the time, but then as I went, you would say ascended in ranks, but that is more ostentatious. I'm saying that I began to really notice. I began to see, began to feel, just like your James Dean when he said he saw some things going on, and the whole ghost or cursed car thing, and Alex Guinness reporting that on the air. That was Hollywood basically saying what they had done. Or your Marilyn Monroe with the Kennedys, or Elvis with who he pissed off in the industry. They humiliated him, humiliation galore. Beautiful man in this respect of that, who put up with such crap. But with mine, I saw it, saw more, I saw the evils there, but I wanted to continue along the path of spiritualness. I wanted to continue, even though you might not hear it in my lyrics, my songs or anything, I came from here. And Biggie and them also saw this as well. You may not like their genre or our genre. It may not be your cup of tea, but that is fine. Each genre has its own yins and yangs. Each genre has its own flavor essence to whom it is supposed to reach. And each genre, like your games, like your movies, like everything, have a flavoring of the truth embedded in them. I wished to embed more than was clinically or circumstantially allowed. I saw certain things saying about certain things that I won't get into certain specifics, but I will say that I embedded things. Your Boney M band also did the same about UFOs. Bobby died in a hotel in Russia with heart conditions, lung conditions, and he was assassinated thusly. I also died thusly in Vegas. Similarly, I should say, with the wounds, with the gunshot. With this, Joan Rivers also had wounds of both breath and heart nature and stroke condition. But with me, I went out how I lived, dangerously and unapologetically. We all lived this. We knew taking the street form of this of the genre and delivering it to the people in a format they could understand. This is what ticked the enemy off big time. We gave it to them in doses they understood, and in a talent spectrum and a musical spectrum they thought was cool, and it was meaningful and soulful, and it was canceling out the music programming, because it sometimes requires a person that has been programmed to basically spew the programming out. Was I embroiled in some of it for a temporary moment in time? I can say yes, until I was not ignorant any longer. Yes, I was ignorantly, some would say, and blissfully ignorant in my 20s, and that gave me the edge of say, oh, I'll live forever. I'm a young person that doesn't know the ropes, and I was told this on multiple occasions. You have to conform to this, conform to that, and I never did, and I am not apologetic for them. Even though I knew some things, I even caught some ceremonial blips here and there of the satanic garbage, and I wanted nothing to do with this. I was more of a person of God, not that of that culture, even if I did not show this in life. When I went out, were these gang members a part of this? Yes, but they were P. Diddy's patsies at the time. This was the height of his capability at the time. And also, as he subsequently went on, up until in the modern day, they are throwing him under the bus. They did this with Jeffrey Epstein. Jeffrey Epstein was around then too. All of them, Ghislaine, all of them were around, of course, at the time. You had a cabal family that I will keep it nameless, that was on your western coast of your United States, that created this whole arena to begin with. roughly 100 of your years ago. I will not name the areas of town. He was warned not to speak that Cabal family's name because you will incur their wrath. There will be times in the not too distant future where it will be safe to mention them. In this channeling, I will not do so. Just know Epstein was part of it. P. Diddy was their servant. They have now thrown him under the bus and they have moved with the rest of their family members to Europe, including the current generation. With this, they have left a lot of this territory unguarded, except for a few patsies that thought that they were God's gift and immortal and a demigod walking amongst men. Wrong. Everyone is expendable. Everyone is expendable, including those that want to feel like they are taking the side of the winning faction. Like you were saying, Disney with the Third Reich, they thought that was going to be the winning side. Just like in your current politics, everybody thought the Democrats winning the current election was a foregone conclusion. What happened to all of these people that thought that, like, oh, we'll be fine? They're not fine. And so, yes, are some being thrown under the bus, but no, there are faceless ones out there that you have never met. There is that family I spoke of that was on the surface as well, but there are others out there that have no faces, those in space that have no faces. So this is what I know.
So just one question about what's going on here, current present moment with that trial. So do you feel what is getting out to the public is a accurate account of information, or do you feel, because again, people are being sacrificed, let's just say, I like to say they're sacrificing one of their own. So in my mind, I keep thinking something must be sanitized if they're, when they throw someone out to the world to sacrifice, and they're not really telling the truth of the story.
No.
So my curiosity is, about, some of the charges, the racketeering and things like that. Is that actually going to come out, or is it going to be some, I don't know, another story that really doesn't encompass the truth of it all?
You are correct. There are multiple layers of this. The truth of the matter is of his parties they speak about. This happened.
Mm-hmm.
The other racketeering stuff, it's like you're trying to get, like they tried to get Al Capone on tax evasion, that kind of deal. The feds or FBI tried this. In this, the families are throwing him under the bus with a bunch of other little stuff to convolute what the other crimes are so it's not traced back to them, you see. But it is and it isn't. They know if they put him in the spotlight, they raided his home, they said he was guilty of racketeering, but what is getting lost in this interim? The sex parties, the handling, the associates, associated with other actors, actresses, and also Oprah and them, you see. The handler of Hollywood. But your Rosie O'Donnell and your Ellen DeGeneres and her partner moved away because they wanted to get away from him. They knew what was actually going on. They thought, people think it was they were getting away from the Trump election. That's only a small, tiny fragment, infinitesimal portion of this, because that's part of the puppet show. This other one is revealing a little more truth about the sex parties and everything, but these things are still going on in other areas. They're aiming at California, but it's going on in multiple areas that you've never even heard of. In small towns, in some bumbuck part of the country, look into places that there is zero care in the world of any sort of activity. You will find where the real horrors lie. You will find that, I mean, I'm not talking about some small town Nebraska or even though the Ku Klux Klan is in York, Nebraska, he points out, or in Iowa or something like that. They are in some small corner somewhere, not just big office building where some of these shills were put in place, like your Matt Lauers and your Bill Cosbys, and even though they're guilty of multiple things, they were thrown under the bus, multiple layers at a time, so that they could keep the illusion in place that they were actually dying off and going somewhere. It's not like the universe drummed them out of the core. You guys are going to need to drum them out of the core. You must notice these things. It's not just California that holds some of these things, even though that was a sickening hub where this family went out to. There are other parts on this planet that it is still going on. You must look into every corner of the planet and look for these things that are unacceptable to you. I do not give a rat's butt what political side you're on. You must see that the world has been fucked pretty badly for a while now. Regardless of what side you're on, quit taking sides. Look at even some of these little things. Normally he would say don't pay attention to what's in the news or TMZ or anything like this. But look for the kernels of truth. Do not let the news and stuff rule you to where you get sucked in. Know that that little portion, or that portion with P. Diddy, it's not little, but that portion of P. Diddy, the majority of what they're saying is the racketeering. The one that's the barely spoken portion of the conversation, that's where you need to be looking. What was not all said about Jeffrey Epstein, they are side-skirting that temple that was on his property. They were sidestepping something that was so damn obvious that, and I know he wants to mention this in a different Q&A, but the temple he had on his property looked like one from the Middle East. That is where he sacrificed young girls, children, everything. Had his sexual orgies, all of this nonsense. That island is sitting on a PowerPoint. It needs to be cleansed. His home is still there. He comes and goes from there. People always ask, did he kill himself? He's still alive. So your Kash Patel and your Dan Bongino were under restrictions they never thought, and Pete Hegseth and them were never thought that they would ever have to be under. They never ever thought that they would have to be under these restrictions. That's why you saw the looks on their faces. One in the cabinet, one in the press, that weird look that you saw on their faces. This was under a severe restriction, saying, oh, Epstein killed himself. They did not want to say this, that he hung himself in his cell. They didn't want to say these things. Just like you saw your Ben Stiller during the whole Kamala thing, and that film they were promoting him. He was in the background. He's like, ooh. You can tell the people that don't want to say these things. But I'm of the sort that you must say these things. I'm of the sort that it must come out. I'm like himself, where they must be spoken. They must be spoken.
So it's an interesting thing because, we, joke that, the only way for it to really come out is that people just don't let go of it. It's like, as soon as, Kash Patel and John Bongino.
Dan Bongino it is.
Yeah, Dan Bongino said those things. Immediately there was a flood of, stuff showing up that people were saying, in my opinion, they were lying and they were under duress.
Very much so.
It was just out there, that. So I think, again, I know there's always this hope in these different areas that if they sacrifice somebody, throw them under the bus, people will think it's dealt with.
And now all three of those, yes, they know the breadth of it. Like, this is why your Jimmy Carter was sobbing at his desk. He saw the whole breadth of what was going on, or
right.
At least in his area.
But I do hope, because I think they are decent people,
yes.
that they're able to pull themselves together, and what they have to do is really, they do have to, they're going to end up having to change some of the directness that they thought they had, but it doesn't mean it can't be brought up to light. You know what I mean? Just maybe not as directly, kind of as they originally thought. And again, people should always be thinking of in their mind that there should be a lot of disruption and people trying to harm, abduct, be it human on human abduction, or God knows, alien on human abduction. What you can put out there to continue to say no to all this. It's not in this world that I want, so that the energies disrupt this and help continue to bring it to life. You can't let it go. You can't say that, this was it. This was the only thing. Now we can get back to our normal lives. It's not over. And so if we want to change things, we have to constantly be, looking and scouting and saying, no, it is not going to be a part of the world we're on.
Yes, this is exactly what you must say and must do. when you see these areas, these people, some of them are quite concerned that this was going on. If you see these looks of disparagingness, you are seeing somebody with a conscience. Like some of your actors that may have a look of disparagingness, there might be a bit of a conscience there basically trying to tell you, wait a minute, look at this, leave a clue, because people are Sherlocking their way through this, which they should.
Right,
Critically think. Look for these looks. You will find a conscience still there.
right.
So this is what I am permitted to say. The only reason I didn't expand into throwing that whole Cabal family under the bus is because there's elements of blowback that are beyond your capability of repelling at this point in time. When it gets to the point that that is not a thing, I would be more than happy to return and throw them under the bus. I know who they are now from Spirit, but it is more expansive than he knows. He's only going from his corner of his SSP memories. There are multiple other areas he did not see that must be seen first before naming them. I know you guys are not fans of naming names. The only reason that I brought up the ones that I did, and that is because it would say he would say it would sound retarded not to say them.
Well, in this instance, it's publicly being spoken
It's
about
publicly all
over
over.
the place
Yes.
anyway.
Yes, that's when you can name it, is when it's out there.
Mhm.
If it is not out there yet, don't. That is, just do not yet. You can co-create it better, even if you talk about certain things in private right now. Just know there is a method to the madness in this, where even Bobby understood this from Boney M. He understood this by embedding it in the songs. He did a little too fast, mind you, but even Trump's Cabalist faction did things a little faster than the other factions wanted, and you know about the family ascendancy, but you know that's part. But I will pass him, you guys, over to Joan briefly. She understands to keep it brief. I know I went on a while, but just know I will return as well, along with several others that are waiting in the wings as well. So, thank you for having me on and speaking my truth. It is it is damn weird actually having a set of balls. You know that? Going into inside of a guy versus the other way around. You know, it's damn strange. But the jokes are not why I'm here. Even though I would say you must joke to get through all of this.
Mhm.
The rumors were correct. They tried to make it ha-ha. I tried to make it ha-ha about Michelle Obama. I can say both of them were the ones that orchestrated this, just like Diddy did it to Tupac. And I did come to him back on Hartley, but there was so much, as it was saying, so much interference that place was haunted up the yin yang wazoo, whatever name you have for it. And this is why I had to cut off communications. There were several beings around that were their essences were too strong to ignore and combat at the time. They were soul trappers all. Oh, and Prince wants to relay one thing. The symbol that he was using was a protective measure, that he was using his own soul's emblem, the Oversoul's emblem, to protect himself, versus formerly known as, and then he reformed into more Oversoul knowledge, higher self knowledge, and then now as he became that again, he is now Prince once again, or the Prince of his palace. Like your Terrence Howard said about the Oversoul and the mirroring of numbers through the multiverse, that whole conversation, people thought he was crazy, but he was talking about the higher self. I am as my Oversoul, even though in life, I probably would have ripped him a little bit in the comedic acts, just saying. Now, even if my daughter's listening to this, yes, I do come to people in this respect. I can only go to those that are most open about this and have had experiences in this area. Reagan was the same way. Michael Jackson's the same way. Tupac is now the same way, even though there's plentiful automatic writings and channelings of him. He is more of a what's the term I'm looking for? A ham for the camera. Let's just say, it's more. He says it's more like how he's more of the prince than Prince. So of this respect, they can go back and forth to see who's the GOAT or the greatest of all time in this. I really don't give a rat's butt. They can wave their non-existent ghostly wieners at one another. I really don't care. But he even saw synchronicity with Prince after he did the channeling. He saw Prince in his purple suit, basically talking about Diddy, and Prince was around and clashed with Diddy information as well. He can come in to talk about this at some other time. He has a story all his own that he wishes to relay at some time. I'm not going to give up his brain at this point because I am here now. I am actually taking the mic at this point. So, Prince, you can wait your turn for the next one. Right. And there are a few others. I know you wanted to say a couple of things, but not tonight. Yes, I know. But with this, you might even get Betty White in here at some point and Don Rickles in here at some point. You'll get a few of the comedians because the comedians were out there coping because of the crap they saw. Jim Carrey can attest to this. He talks about this quite often because he's had experiences. People throw him under the bus. They think he's doing Biden impersonations and all this horse shit. He is not doing Biden impersonations. That's a bit of disinformation that he didn't dare contest because of because of the blowback. It's best sometimes to let sleeping dogs lie and let some of the disinformation just flow for a minute. Wait for people to see it as horse shit and then move on. So he would object to more of his life being talked about, but suffice to say, he's seen some things and some stuff and some shit. Let's just put it this way. But in my existence, right there at the end, I knew somewhat of some of the things that were going on. I knew there was some shit in the background, and I said it in a ha-ha way. They targeted me immediately for this. Michelle Obama is a guy, okay? Nobody would care. People that want to just live their life and do whatever the hell they want, nobody cares. Just don't impose. Just like with both Christian and woke. Don't impose. Let people live the life they want to live, as long as it doesn't harm yourself, others, and humanity. You have a form of unity. I did things in humor, but I wasn't going to let that ride. It's essentially like in your V for Vendetta when the comedian was making fun of the Chancellor and he gets killed for it. It's the same thing. I made fun of the Chancellor and his husband. And I make fun of them again because they're evil pieces of shit. I am just saying this because of the fact that this needs to be said. Again, sorry for the name dropping. But this is public information and has been for some time. No, you are entering an arena where sometimes muting certain things is not possible if you wish to be a part of this crowd of which you are entering. It's not completely possible. So just know when the crowd is talking about certain things, you are able to do so within limitations. There are still some names that they've popped up that you shouldn't right now. But about it's basically like you said, the information, not the person, pretty much. So, but if information pops up that people are asking you to vet, know that you don't all both have all the answers either, but you know truth from lies. You are getting very good at this. This is why I am here. Because it is not the same as it was before you two were together. It actually is far less chaotic, despite what you may think. It seemed more orderly then. Things seemed to make more sense to him then. Because it was a false platform, an illusion that seemed to make sense in the guise of order. It was chaos. Now it seems like chaos, but it's actually more orderly than it was before. Even if there's chaos, even if there's targeting, even if there's all this, you are seeing what is about. Therefore, it is more orderly to your experience, even though it is also chaotic to your experience, if this makes sense. So I will shut up and you can ask me whatever the hell you want.
Well, first I have to say that, you know, I loved watching the fashion shows with you hosting it. I mean, you know, I know I'm speaking for a lot of people. It was never the same after you passed, and it was just
Because it wasn't me that was on
because
there.
it wasn't you.
Some other schmuck.
Right, and I know that, and it wasn't the same, but you know, I hope you enjoyed doing that because I don't know if you did or didn't. It's probably a good question because,
Mhm.
you know, I know I'm one of many, many, many people who so enjoyed watching you. Did you have fun doing
Oh,
that?
yes, most definitely. Even though there's the schmucks in the background that dictate and do their little thing and waving their prick around and doing all that in business, and I didn't care. It was, yes, I played a little bit of a game. I didn't go into all that other garbage that the others went into, from the cult of satanic garbage. I went in to have fun and just play around, and in more ways than one, I might add in some areas, but for the fashion show thing, yes, a lot of fun, yes.
Good. And you know, at the time, again, you were alive with George Carlin around. And I am curious, you know, because I mean, I think he's one of the comedian that took it the furthest as far
Yes,
as how
he
to comically tell the exact truth as to what's going on.
He took a lot of chances. He took a lot of chances. They tried to mind control him. He tried to tell you. They tried to control him. He tried to tell you. He then paid them back with the biggest set of balls I have ever seen by telling you exactly how they did things, what they did, why they did it, and you may wonder why he wasn't killed for it. He kind of was. Well, even though he had lived a long life, there was some things in his personal life that happened in the background that were less than savory. Let's just put it that way. I'll let him speak to this at some point. He might say things in a ha-ha fashion for you, but he wishes to let me leave his personal life to him. He wanted to point this out.
Oh, sure.
But he knows you've watched his material, and he did take it the furthest, I will say. He dragged his big nutsack onto stage, and he presented it all for you because of the fact that he did not like all the crap that was going on. He would be ripping everybody right now. All the ones that are currently around, that were currently around, including Trump, he would be ripping everybody. He would be saying, doing his famous "You and I are not in the big club" speech. And with this, he did take it the farthest. I took it a little bit. Others took it a little further. Tupac and Bobby of Boney M took it further, and we saw what happened with them. They even made fun of Bobby on Black Mirror. Tried to make him look like a demon in that show. Very, very weird how they throw people under the bus within fiction sometimes. You'll notice that sometimes they throw people under the bus in fiction the same as that others present in fiction. But George, I must say, I commend his ball sack because of the fact that he was able to get up on stage and basically show the attitude of the cabal, the Satanists, how they view things, and how excited they are to they actually enjoy harming others. The way he presented it in comedy is exactly how these people act, right down to the decimal, right down to the skin cell, right down to the way they even speak. This is what he did, and you might ask, well, how he lived for so long going through all of that? The yield in this was the fact that it was said within comedy. That's what allowed him to carry the message as long as he did, is it was within comedy. Even though I did mine in comedy, I was 81 by the time I died. I didn't give a rat's ass. I had fun and I lived it up till the end, and I pointed out something that I thought everybody should know, and fuck them for killing me for it.
So it's an interesting statement because that is really part of my question. Because I've had moments where I start talking and I feel, I'm just gonna put it this way, I feel it's more of me driving whatever's coming out of my mouth than just me, the avatar me. So my question is to you, I mean, it was just such an off the cuff moment
Yes.
when you said that.
Yes.
So my question was, were you just waiting for the right moment as you, Joan, the avatar, to say it? Or was there something greater in you that was just that information's gonna come out?
Both. I waited for the opportune moment. I knew it had to be said, but it was Oversoul inspired. You see, to bring that out, and it was a seed that needed to be planted. Other people would say, "Oh, I planted it in a more comedic hush hush kind of way, just to say what was going on in the background." Yes, and if you knew you were going to die, why didn't you say this? I didn't actually know. At the time, the Avatar did not know. The Oversoul knew. The Oversoul said it. The human then said it. Robin Williams will also attest to some of the evils he saw in the background where he did things in a more grotesque way. He actually has the biggest spine out of all of us for presenting what took place in the background. He was very tortured and very, he did not want to participate in any of this. It traumatized him horribly. He had the biggest spine, though, out of every single one of us. He can attest to his own life, too. But just know the differences where he came in to do it that way. It's not all completely pre-planned, I wish to say. There are variances that play out in the timeline. That one, he knew at the time which way it was going to go only as it crept up on it. And he went, okay, I must do this. Horrible, he was mind controlled to do it, but at the same time, it made a point about what was going on in the background. A sacrifice. They thought they sacrificed him. With me, they thought they sacrificed me. They have sacrificed nobody. That you should make them believe it. They believe it. They believe it so strongly that by sacrificing to their God, they get a sense of power like a vampire, and that they protect their world. He would say like in your Stargate Atlantis with the Wraith, and this other society that gave their prisoners over to them. It's the same to protect theirs. It's the same. They believe their God will protect them as long as they continue sacrifice. Even your South Parkers got that right by showing Brittany being the sacrifice that actually societally was needed, and you could see that happened for a short time with her. I only put that small bit out in the open because South Park said it already. And the current actions show some of this. Now, also your Miley Cyrus or Hannah Montana, you see the dichotomy there. There are some things going on in the background there. I'm only saying them snippets so you see what different mental states look like.
Well, there's one, and I was gonna bring them up with Tupac, but now that you're bringing this up with younger people, I feel like I should. Because many people are looking at this young man and just feel like he's such a tortured soul, and that's Justin Bieber.
Yes.
So I mean,
Yes.
if you, I don't even know what to say, because for me,
It's a sad tale.
Okay, so I mean, you're validating from your perspective that this is not an act. This is truly a tortured soul who has been through and seen a lot, I'm assuming.
Very, very much so. He has seen far too much. And this is what was also the strange behavior. He's always told, look for the strange behavior. This is both mind-controlled torture, especially where there's drinking and hanging and self-cutting and all this involved. There's possession and all this other stuff, the strange behavior, because they're starting to see all of these things and all the traumas coming to the surface. And it's coming to the surface in an erupting sort of way. And Michael Jackson would say, this is why he acted weird. It is because of the fact he was marking, because of the mind control, he was marking where it was going on under Neverland Ranch. Your Lady Gaga also went through her period of the outlandishness. Sometimes that's a personality, where they have to be outlandish or comedic. But in this way, they were trying to point something out to you. Even in her video, Born This Way, it showed you the origin of some of the Orion DNA that was in there, and the Anunnaki involvement and things of that nature. This is and the alien involvement and all this crap that was going on, the splicing of genes. That's what was in there, showing the different races all have this in them. This is where that was coming in, or Born This Way. In this instance, that's why she was trying to peg it. Look towards this. You start seeing this like your Katy Perry doing the thing with space. That horse shit. that was going on, that sacred feminine metaphysical horseshit that was going on during that, or some come to Jesus moment. But with space, when that really didn't completely happen the way that happened. Any of these things you're seeing, I know it's part of the puppet show, and I'm probably meandered off target, but with this, with Bieber, this was a tortured soul. This is why you're not seeing this as much. But you're also seeing that he was a victim of both, well, basically mostly Diddy, and there's some Epstein inclusion in there as well. Epstein was the kind of the stage above where Diddy was. Diddy was more sort of equal for his territory. He was more of what's the word I'm looking for? Steward of that area, or he saw himself as a prince, but a dark prince kind of. And your Epstein just saw himself as king. But Bieber was affected by Diddy most of all, but also Epstein as well. Any of the people that you see also that were affected, like the one that was brainwashed to recruit others, and also the one that recently killed herself, you're going to start seeing this unfortunately across the board, because these souls wish to show you what is going on in the
Did she
background.
kill herself?
Yes.
She did, even though everybody's denying that she.
Yeah. Oh, actually, I misspoke. Killing self is not entirely accurate. Coerced to do so, and murdered, essentially. If this makes sense.
Right.
Coerced, made to look like killing. I'd say gun, but it was other thing. But coerced to do so. Look there. It was a murder and shown as a suicide, but it was a coercion through mind control and also set up to look like a suicide.
Well, right. So on the surface, people say, I don't believe there was a suicide, but it really does look like one.
It does.
So
look
there wasn't this nefarious cover up. It really did look like one, but I can certainly believe with the mind control and things like that, how people are so tortured that they want it to end.
Coerced to do so by the very sources that she was tortured by to begin with.
Right. Right. I know. I can absolutely.
B2K, all of that rampant. Right. Like him and his friend have run into this kind of garbage. Okay. The creepy thoughts, all of that. Right. This played a humongous factor in this, and I can honestly say this garbage won't happen forever. It cannot. You cannot circle the toilet forever. Is this area going to be shut down? But the more people that notice it, you must notice the cracks in between, the spaces in between spaces. You must notice and read between the lines. Yes, don't pay attention to crap on your TV always, but there are key points that you will intuitively notice, that you must notice. The soul will know what to look at. Aside from the binary network and V2K pulling you into every distractive little corner of creation, looking at you, big-ass Kardashians, that's another area, but I rip into them often, even from here. This is a Cabal faction offshoot. That one I can actually say because people are speculating already. The other one that Tupac won't mention is much larger. This is an offshoot of that faction. Epstein was an offshoot of that faction, and his brother. And some of his other family members that want to disavow, but they're also part of this as well. It's not unlike Starkweather also had his family members. So did Manson that weren't involved. Some of Epstein's are, and some are not. And this other family, most of them are involved, and only a smaller portion of that Cabal family are not, that have been snuck out of that situation or in safe hands. So it's one of those where some Cabal family members get snuck out and start over. That's what needs to happen. They need to be disassembled and put back together like Humpty Dumpty, but in other areas. And spread the genetics out a little bit, because some of them are so inbred in some areas. They have so many problems genetically. I will shut up about that now. But that is not even a joke. But what I will say, because he's getting pressure on his chest at the moment, I will say that I did have fun with heckling them. So did Carlin. Robin Williams did up until he was really tortured. Carlin knew how to really handle his own. I will say. He's listening now, so I can say that he really knew how to handle his own in the face of. Some things in his personal life didn't pan out the way he wanted. But, and then again, he can mention this, but he had the biggest ball sack out of all of them. Robin Williams had the biggest spine. I had more the biggest head, the heart too, but Tupac had a big heart, and there are several others that we thought with our heart spaces as well. This is also why we were targeted. Like I said, with V for Vendetta and the Chancellor and the guy that from TV that was killed in that sequence, that's a true statement that was being shown. The writers knew what they were doing with that, and like that movie said, an idea never dies. When you don't necessarily need to take up the sword to revolt, you can just create an idea, and that idea becomes reality because you're pulling it from the ether somewhere. All ideas come from somewhere in creation. If you want that creation changed here, put it out there. It plants a seed, like what he called those two Nazi assholes, Hans and Franz, and a few other things. That is wonderful. That is what is needed right now. If you want to defeat an ideology like either a Nazi ideology or a Satanist ideology, you put it out there as a complete joke. And they knew what I was doing. The Obamas knew what I was doing, making fun of them, ha ha ha, putting it out there, just like Barack himself said on Jimmy Kimmel. Yes, we've seen aliens, ha 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 ha. Yes, you have. But you're also of a family lineage that was around them in Egypt. And a beginning, he's a Rothschild. So yes, and they carried some of them carried this incestuous crap with them too. Looking at you, Big Mike, but no, not you, Michael Jackson, the other Big Mike, the one with the penis, the one that actually still kept their balls, no, yeah, okay. See how I can joke about that, but it was actually quite traumatic for him. But see, and he's laughing too. So let's see, we can all laugh here because we're untouchable where we are. You guys are not. So this is why he felt this pressure on the chest. So I must limit my speech from this point forward. Do you have any other questions?
No, except for one, and I hope you can understand what I'm saying, because we've talked historically, when we talk about historically, we call them the Orions,
Mm-hmm.
kind of, they just
Talk about no balls.
right, and they're just warped. It's just like, how warped can I be in life? You know what I mean, kind of thing. That's what they seem to explore. I don't know, but my point is like some of these things, like let's just say the Obama's marriage, and other ones have come to like the president of France
Mm-hmm.
and his spouse, and
Mhm.
all these other things, where it's like do you think though, being gay wasn't good enough, that you've got to have this warped thing that you're trying to hide, or this, that, and the other? And even, I hate to say it, but the ones that did become president, that they've been groomed their entire life for the position they were in.
And actors and all them as well.
Right. And then
Musicians.
and then to be groomed, and then here comes the female or the male that's going to pretend to be the female into their lives. You know what I mean?
Uh-huh.
All of this grooming happens. It's not really by mistake.
It's also the religion of whom they serve. Like what was said in your past episodes, even of GIC and them. Whom do you serve? This is the question that must be asked. Whom do you serve?
Because it reminds me of what we refer to as Orion marriages. These crazy ass, mixed up, just out of control, debauchery.
And also, and nobody cares if you're gay. That's perfectly normal. Even cross-dressing, some trans, all this other stuff, perfectly fine. Then you have these weird religions where they force trans people and force do things to children. And this is your different cults of your different creepy Anunnaki / Orion lords out there, like your Baphomets and your Mithras and your Baals and all this other crap. Where they're both genders, and also people forget the angels are too over in your Christian area as well. Got to know they know they hedge betted both sides, and other races hedge bet. Even as I'm speaking right now, there are beings rolling the dice as to what happens next. If you do not wish to see this anymore, you must speak up in this area. Because in the past, when they tried this in ancient times, when humans got together and stood up to them, they stopped. And then they tried to reformulate how they were going to reboot things, and they usually used brute force. This is like what your Orwell said. When all the mental manipulation melted away, they will resort to force every single time. That's when you will see their true colors at that point. And it doesn't mean that you don't have the ability to stop that from happening too. Use this. More importantly, use this. Because all at once, everything all at once, because the fact it is needed now more than ever before, especially with all the deception happening now. I must detach at this time because there's too much interference. Do you have anything further?
No, I'll let you go.
Okay. Because his thymus is starting to get hit and his throat space here. Because my voice is over interlapping with his vocals, and they do not like my humor as they didn't like, you see. They're jealous, and Carlin just said they were jealous of his enormous scrotum. So, which I have to concur. That is one large scrotum, my friend. It's bigger than your head, actually, which that drove you more than your brains did, I must say. But enough bashing you for the night. Thank you to everyone. I send blessings out, and just continue to laugh, please. And me and Tupac told him the two other affirmations and blessings we wrote for him today for other shows. We wanted to offset these things so these messages got into multiple shows, not just one. Repetition is key. Repetition in sight, sound, smell, hearing, brain, heart. You must continue to go against that grain and against the path they are trying to set you on with mind control. So, curses all, you must defy lineage curse as well as what they are attempting to turn you into, which are heartless, mindless animals. No insult to animals. Animals can be very sweet, but the animal they want to turn you into is a barbarian. Do not do this. Neither woke nor Christian do not aim at each other. Division is what they want. Unity is what they do not. So, goodbye. Okay. Yeah. All I know is I saw a vision of Carlin dragging around a gigantic scrotum. Where he's like outside, and he was trying to get her to start laughing and everything. All I saw was him like in the background. So I know he's going to be probably one of the next ones to talk. Congratulations, you have me coming up in one of your next shows. I know you feel honored to have me on your world stage, and I gladly do so. So, I knew he was eventually going to come about. He once told me that, because he joked about outlawing religion and worship and stuff like that because they were a pain in the ass, and then he came back later in a channeling and said, if that actually would happen, that would be one of the worst days for humanity that would ever happen, ever. So as much as he hated religion, he now sees that there is a benevolent source creator and is benevolent over his soul, and he sees all of these things. So he'll talk on the next one, he says, out there. So thank you very much for everybody watching this episode and listening to what we have to say. So Joanna, do you have anything else?
Nope, take it.
Okay, I now close this circle within true benevolence and no conflicting agendas as of this moment in time. So thank you, everybody. Bye-bye now. Now I know why Prince appeared with Michael Jackson in my session earlier today. I'll add this to this Q&A, but I'm seeing a video on YouTube, and I know the algorithm, I get this, but there's a certain synchronicity feel in this, even if it is the other. It is Diddy snaps in court after Prince's final recording played. So, yeah, there's the reasons why, and there was a 2-5 there, a 7, so yeah. Godly number, the brat, and also satanic as well. So yeah, I get it why he came through and the session that he did. And that was the synchronicity. I'm not going to reveal the session unless the person, the friend of ours, wants it. But same person that let me put out the Michael Jackson one. See if she allows this one. But this one is interesting. So I thought it was interesting. As soon as I get on YouTube I'll check the comments under the Q&A. Let's see. With the lifting episode number 259 Q&A. Yeah, the video that appeared right here. That he snaps in court after Prince's final recording. And I saw him in the purple suit, and they're showing him here. In the purple suit that I just saw him in, doing Q&A. So, the one that you just heard. So I find that very, very interesting. And Michael Jackson's been bringing a lot of people forward from Tupac, who Diddy killed, to Joan Rivers, who that was a Michelle Obama because of the result of her calling her out on being trans. And you heard that all over the place. So yeah, the next day she was dead. So she came to me years ago, but there was so much interference I wasn't getting the right information. And even V2K wise, it's hard to tell. You know, I'll hear some words and go, oh, and they'll say, oh, I didn't say that, and I have to backtrack on the answer. That's why it's rough. Then I have to be more patient and go through it and go calmly and go, oh, this is what you're saying. This is what V2K is trying to add. So it's very difficult at times, especially today. It's been pretty ugly at the time of this recording. So it is 11:14 a.m. Eastern Standard Time, Friday, May 23rd, 2025. Thank you. Oh, you know, I also got on YouTube to upload another video, and just, you know, we mentioned Carlin. But there was a video that popped up in the feed, and I know the algorithm again, but they were right. George Carlin and Richard Pryor tried to warn us. So, yeah, that popped up as soon as I got on there and doing an opening and blessing, affirmation blessing for Carlin. So, there it is, right there. So, yeah. We'll talk about synchronicity and connection. It's all connected. Even the algorithm is interfering, but still isn't. I figured I'd point that out. It's a both. It's a little both. Even though I've said the 1111s, 222s, 333s, 444s, so like the algorithm and the AI getting involved. There's also genuine synchronicity and genuine connection. I should say synchronicity is the wrong word. It's connection. It essentially is like a landing vessel, like they use the 420 for high, you know, meaning you're pretty when you're high, boy, based on a Dorothy song, meaning energy up, you know, high up or faster moving. So better when you're not the other way, angry kind of thing, and hateful or judgmental. I get it. It's even though you got to feel what you feel, know what you know, understand and process emotions, not be neutered. Like the New Agers want to separate everything from sexual to anger, saying it's separating light from light, like sexual. Celibacy was a trick of the Orions to get people to separate part of themselves from themselves. So they say, oh, Lucifer nurtured all these things, so God and Jesus are part of this. So I will go now. This is more on that. I'll go into later. So it is. Just know it's a trick. So it is 6:38 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, Friday, May 23rd, 2025. Thank you.